The film begins with a low-ranking traffic cop who is quite honest with his duties, and his name is Doman. On his duty, he notices a car behind him, taking a wrong turn, so he stops his car and gets out. Then he stops the car which has violated the traffic rules. Upon stopping the car, he asks the driver to show his license and informs him that he has made a wrong turn. The driver tries to explain that he is in a great hurry, but Doman ignores him and insists to see his license. Then the driver reveals that he is the new chief police officer in this city and his name is Lee Seung-man. Hearing this, Doman instantly salutes him and again asks him to show his license. Finally, Chief Officer Lee inadvertently shows his license and Doman charges him for violating the traffic rule. Afterwards, Lee reaches the main police office where all the staff wholeheartedly welcomes him, and then he is taken to the welcome ceremony where many police officers were gathered. After the ceremony, he gives his fine receipt to the junior police officers and they feel pretty ashamed and instantly calls Doman in front of a senior. The senior rebukes him on his foolishness, and also his fellows seem tired due to his nonsense, and it is told that Doman has already kicked off from his previous job due to his foolishness, but he is a kind of person that takes his tasks quite serious and performs them with complete honesty, but his such behavior is disliked by everybody, although he possesses a very calm and straightforward nature. However, he silently heard them and the senior gave him a warning and let him go. Then the scene shifts to Chief Officer Lee, who observes the cases in the police station and comes to know that the city is caught by a series of bank robberies and only a single group of thieves are doing this. Moreover, more than 5 bank robberies are taking place a day and no one is able to catch those bastards. Then Lee analyzes each and everything with his perspective. After a lot of research, he decides to make a plan to show people that the police can catch the robbers. According to his plan, they will act like they are successful in catching a fake thief, and every staff member will be given a special role like a robber, patrolman, cop, and ordinary man to carry out the plan. And Chief Officer Lee has given this plan a name as a police training operation. He assumes that this way they will learn the psychology of robbers and how they perform these robberies, only to catch them red-handed. Chief Officer Lee involves the media in the training as he is fond of being famous all over the country for his services as a chief officer. Afterwards, everyone has explained the complete logic of the training and all of them are given a folded paper on which their roles are written, and it is announced that everybody will perform his role keeping it a secret. In this way, Doman gets the role of petrol team member and he happily accepts it, but Lee calls him into his office and checks his role. Upon knowing his role, he seems a bit confused and we see that Chief Lee assigns him a new role of a robber instead of a petrolman and tells him that he knows that Doman is quite sincere with his duties, but Doman claims that this will make Lee regret. However, Chief Lee thinks that he is trying to be oversmart and he will easily catch him as a robber. Therefore, Doman agrees to the role and starts preparing for it by watching films about robbers and books related to robbers, even though he observes each and everything related to the robber to perform his role in quite the perfect way. He keeps learning all this until the decided day of the robbery arrives and all the officers having their specific roles remain in different banks in the city. Afterwards, Doman as a robber enters a bank and quietly goes to the accountant and orders her to give him all the money and not to set the alarm with the help of a paper on which this instruction was written, but the accountant does not obey him and sets the alarm on. Due to this, he picks up his gun and pretends that he has killed a cop by saying the word bang as if it was training, so he could not kill anybody in real life. Afterwards, he captures all the people in the bank as hostages and puts a hostage tag around everybody's neck and a dead tag around cop's neck. Although it was all a drama, Doman remains pretty serious and pretends to slap a hostage and gives him a tag of being unconscious. And it is shown that the situation is getting out of control. All the other police, upon knowing about the case, surround the bank, including Chief Officer Lee. After all, he seems happy because his mission is going smoothly. Moreover, he calls Doman and instructs him to be serious throughout the operation and to give his best. Afterwards, Chief Lee calls the news reporters and media there to create hype about his operation, but Doman, pretending to be a real robber, switches off all the CCTV cameras and locks each exit of the bank. Chief Lee gets worried and calls Doman to ask why he is doing that, so he replies that real robbers must have switched off the cameras and he will no longer talk to Lee as well, and immediately cuts the call, which compels Lee to think that he has made a big mistake, and also Doman has not told him that how they will capture him. Therefore, capturing Doman is quite difficult now. Afterwards, Doman collects all the hostages' phones while a hostage who is an expert in martial arts attempts to overcome Doman, but being a good boxer he overcomes her instead and shoots him as well, and then he puts a dead tag around her neck. After that, all the security forces including senior officers arrive there, and Lee makes a plan to break into the bank through a secret entrance on the back side of the bank and thinks that his force will rescue the hostages and that the training would be successfully ended. But Doman had prepared a lot for his role and he knew everything about the bank, and he had brought all the information in written and graphical form. So when the forces enter from the backside, Doman alleviates the oxygen from that portion. As a result, all the soldiers get unconscious, but before they could die, Doman provides the oxygen again and tells them they were about to die if he did not open the oxygen. Then he gives all of them a dead and all the soldiers runs outside to save their lives. and it is shown in the media that the robber has killed 7 people in total, and everyone gets amazed by the news. Next, a hostage girl, frustrated by the drama, yells at Doman, but he tells her that she should have to act like she is unconscious as a part of this dramatic operation. But she disobeys him and continues to yell at him, so he opens his shirt button and pretends like he has raped the girl and gives her 2 tags, one for unconsciousness and the other for being raped. Afterwards, it is shown that the hostages include a pregnant woman who is suffering from abdominal pain, so Doman allows her to go outside on the condition that he will have another hostage from outside. When he goes outside to get the other hostage, Lee asks him why he is making them trouble and making the training operation too long. He replies that he was directed to give his best while performing a robber role, but if Lee orders him to stop, he would immediately stop the training. But Lee thinks that if he stops Doman, he would be considered a coward. So to retain his ego, he doesn't order him to stop the training and again tells him to do his best. And after taking a cameraman hostage, he gets inside and the cameraman records him live. He is seen live on TV where he tells about his experience of becoming a robber and wishes for the end of training and to get caught by the police. At the moment, another hostage attempts to escape, but the soldiers outside shoot him, considered a member of the robbers' team. And this shoot was also a fake one, because we remember that it was only training, and now 8 people are pretending to be dead as part of the drama. On the other hand, Chief Officer Lee starts making another plan to emotionally blackmail him and calls Doman's mother there. His mother, upon reaching there, talks on a loudspeaker with Doman and tries to mold him by saying some really deep and emotional words. But as it was scripted by Lee, Doman gets no effect of this, and Chief Lee feels that he should have surrendered now, so he thinks that he is not playing well because he ignored her mother, and that's kind of pretty selfishness. If he were the real robber, he would have molded by his mother. Then Doman expresses that he is a robber and she is the mother of a police officer, so why would a robber be moved by an officer's mother? Moreover, he tells that his mother has not performed well because she already knows that it's not the reality but a training operation. But if this was a reality, he would have immediately surrendered. And hearing his response on TV, everyone feels quite satisfied. Afterwards, Doman publicly announces that he needs a van, otherwise he would start killing hostages one by one. Meanwhile, the cameraman, who is also a hostage, keeps instructing him to continue his talking with the public, and finally Doman becomes angry at the cameraman and kills him as well and gives him a dead tag. Then he kills another hostage in front of Lee and the soldiers, only to get a van. So he has killed 10 people in total. Chief Officer Lee, considering the situation, realizes that they should have provided him with a van, otherwise the situation will get worse. Therefore, he quickly arranges a bus for him, and Doman reveals that he will take all the hostages to the river where he would need a boat. After getting in the boat, he will throw every hostage into the river. But before throwing them, he will make them wear life jackets so that they won't die in real life. This will be the last step of his role, and this way he will succeed in performing his best. Hearing this, Chief Officer Lee learns that they would have to capture Doman before he takes all the hostages to the river. Otherwise, the police department will lose to an ordinary robber. Then Doman instructs the hostages to get on the bus, and we see that it was raining heavily outside, so he takes all the hostages under umbrellas toward the bus. This helps Doman to escape from the police because everyone walks while having his face hidden under the umbrella, having bare feet, so that the police cannot find Doman to shoot. When all the hostages successfully get on the bus starts traveling towards the river, and Chief Officer Lee along with security forces starts following the bus, but he cannot overtake the bus nor perform any action, otherwise he would lose more hostages. Eventually, the bus reaches the river and stops. Then all the hostages start getting out one by one because no one has died in real life. When all of them get out, Lee and the soldiers come to know that Doman is not among them and realizes that he has deceived them successfully. Then the scene shifts to Doman, who is still inside the bank with the last hostage girl, while some items from the girl's purse fall out. The items include her ID cards and bank cards, so he thinks that he will have money for these cards. Therefore, Doman immediately acquires them because he is still performing the robber role. Afterwards, he decides to take this hostage with him, so he gets out of the bank and gets in the manager's car along with the hostage girl and drives toward the river where the rest of the hostages were present. But on the way, he is stopped by a traffic police officer at a check post, who was Doman's fellow officer. So he doesn't get scared of him and gets rid of him by pointing a gun at his head. Afterwards, he is caught by the police near the river and there is no more path for him to escape. So he captures the girl at gunpoint and gets out of the car while Chief Lee tells him that the game is going to end. He would have to surrender and the police would win. But Doman says that he had not planned to escape, but he was supposed to do his best as a robber, so he is now caught in a strange situation where he has no chance to continue. So, he shoots him in the last hostage as well, because a real robber in this situation would do the same. As a result, Chief Lee and the police lose to Doman, so considering his unmatched performance, Lee makes him the head of the crime investigation department. Next, we see Doman, who goes to the same bank again, and now everyone knows him well. At that moment, the group of real robbers who had been looting the banks of the city arrives there and tries to capture all the staff as hostages, but Doman appears there and attacks them, and the movie ends here.